Chat! Chatteroony, Chatster, Chatabunga, Chat, Shitty Chat. Chat, how you doing? Doing good? 1 second, guys. I gotta put this down to low latency so I could read y'all's chat messages. They come my way. One hot second, guys. Edit. I think I can't do that mid whatever. So we're just gonna screw that. Screw that. How you guys doing today? Are you guys doing good? You guys ready for some epic Minecraft? Not Minecraft. We're not playing Minecraft. We're reading the freaking FNAF books. How you guys ready? Because y'all better be. Because we're gonna read these goddamn FNAF books whether you like it or not. Today I have got the Five Nights at Freddy's Fazbear Frights. I've got the first 4 of them. So today the plan is simple, guys. What we're going to do is we're going to read these FNAF books and kind of just have a chill time. This gives me an excuse to read, and it gives me some content to fill up the channel while we wait for some new equipment for me to record the next Cooking with Hanktendo. So get hyped for that next video. But until then, we're just going to read some gosh darn FNAF books. So let's hop on over to our lovely reading area. Lovely. Listen to that fireplace roar. And chat, if the fireplace is not as hearable, or if it's not as, or if it's too loud, please tell me. Just thought I'd make a nice little chill area for us to check out, just for us to relax to. So hopefully the fireplace is nice and soothing. Hopefully the picture of Freddy is soothing and slightly erotic, because that's hot. Okay. I think we should read the back of the book, just for the sake of... Forgot to get a glass of water. 1 second, chat. 1 hot second. Let the fireplace soothe you. Okay. We're back. Yeah. 1 second, I gotta get my... I should have got this stuff up. I should have had this stuff set up way sooner. I was playing games with friends, so as soon as I saw it was 5 o'clock, I was like, oh shit, I gotta stream some freaking FNAF. I'm a FNAF tuber, guys. I'm Dawko. Wow. Okay. Let's read what the description of this book says, shall we? Five Nights at Freddy's fans won't want to miss this pulse-pounding collection of 3 novella-length tales that will keep even the bravest player up at night. What do you wish for the most? It's a question that Oswald, Sarah, and Millie think they know the answer to. Oswald wishes his summer wasn't so boring. Sarah wishes to be beautiful, and Millie wishes she could just disappear from the face of the earth. But in this twisted world of Five Nights at Freddy's, their heart's deepest desires have an unexpected cost. In this volume, Five Nights at Freddy's creator Scott Cawthon spins 3 sinister novella-length stories from different corners of his series canon. The book comes with cover artwork from fan-favorite game artist Lady Fizzy, who brings the horror to life in startling new ways. Readers beware, this collection of terrifying tales is enough to unsettle even the most hardened Five Nights at Freddy's fans. So, I guess if you're liable to piss your pants at night, take that with a grain of salt. Just because some people might not understand. Hello, Chad. Again, we're just reading some FNAF books, because I got a huge collection of them for Christmas, and so I'm just going to read them to you guys. Feel free to chat. Feel free to talk amongst yourselves. I will read to you guys. Hey, what's up, Dally? I hope you're doing good. Yeah, we're just going to have a great time together, I feel. So, without further ado, let us get started with this lovely series, shall we? For those wondering, I am starting off with the pit. The dead possum's still there.
Oswald was looking out the passenger window at the gray, furry corpse on the side of the road. Somehow, it looked even deader than it had yesterday. Last night's rain hadn't helped. Nothing looks deader than a dead possum, Oswald's dad said. Except this town, Oswald mumbled, looking at the boarded up storefronts and the display windows, which were displaying nothing but dust. What's that? Dad said. He was already wearing the stupid red vest they put him in when he worked the deli counter at the snack space. Oswald wished he'd wait to put it on until after he dropped him at school. This town, Oswald said, louder this time. This town looks deader than a dead possum. His dad laughed. Well, I don't guess I can argue with that. 3 years ago, when Oswald was 7, there had actually been stuff to do here. Movie theater, game and card store, and an ice cream shop with amazing waffle cones. But then the mill had closed. The mill had basically been the reason the town existed. Oswald's dad had lost his job, and so had hundreds of other kids' moms and dads. Lots of families had moved away, including Oswald's best friend, Ben, and his family. Oswald's family had stayed because his mom's job at the hospital was steady, and they didn't want to move far away from Grandma, so Dad ended up with a part-time job at the snack space, which paid $5 an hour, less than he made at the mill. And Oswald watched the town die. One business after another shut down. Hi, dog. That was my dog. One business after another shut down, like the organs in a dying body. Because nobody had the money for movies or games or amazing waffle cones anymore. Are you excited? It's the last day of school, Dad asked. It was one of those stupid questions adults always ask, like, how was your day, and did you brush your teeth? Oswald shrugged. I guess, but there's nothing to do with Ben gone. School's boring, but home's boring too. When I was 10, I wasn't home in the summer until I got called in for supper, Dad said. I rode my bike and played baseball and got into all kinds of trouble. Are you saying I should get into trouble? Oswald said. No, I'm saying you should have fun. Dad pulled into the drop-off line in front of Westbrook Elementary. Have fun. He made it sound so easy. Oswald walked through the school's double doors and ran smack into Dylan Cooper, last person he wanted to see. Oswald was apparently the first person Dylan wanted to see, though, because his mouth spread in a wide grin. Dylan was the tallest kid in 5th grade and nearly enjoyed looming over his victims. Well, if it isn't Oswald the Ocelot, he said, his grin spreading impossibly wider. Sorry. That one never gets old, does it? Oswald walked past Dylan and was relieved when his tormentor chose not to follow him. When Oswald and his 5th grade classmates were preschoolers, there was a cartoon on one of the little kid channels about a big pink ocelot named Oswald. As a result, Dylan and his friends had started calling him Oswald the Ocelot on the first day of kindergarten and had never stopped. Dylan was the first kind of kid who'd pick on anything that made you different. If it hadn't been Oswald's name, it would have been his freckles or his cowlick. The name-calling had gotten much worse this year in U.S. history. They learned that the man who shot John F. Kennedy was named Lee Harvey Oswald. Oswald would rather be an ocelot. Assassin. Since it was the last day of school, there was no attempt at doing any kind of real work. Miss Meechin had announced the day before that students were allowed to bring their electronics as long as they took responsibility for anything getting lost or broken. This announcement meant that no effort would be made towards any educational activities of any kind. Oswald didn't have any modern electronics. True, there was one laptop at home, but the whole family shared it and he wasn't allowed to bring it to school. He had a phone, but it was the saddest, most out-of-date model imaginable. And he didn't want to take it out of his pocket because he knew any kid who saw it would make fun. How pathetic. That was an awful page turn. So while other kids played games on their tablets or handheld consoles, Oswald sat. After just sitting became intolerable, he took out a notebook and pencil and started to draw. He wasn't the best artist in the world, but he could draw well enough that his images were identifiable. And there was a certain cartoony quality about the drawings that he liked. The best thing about drawing, though, was that he could get lost in it. It was like if he fell into the paper and became part of the scene he was creating. It was a welcome escape. Gotta put a hoodie on, chat. Okay. Gotta put on the official Hank. Okay. He didn't know why, but lately he had been drawing mechanical animals. Bears, bunnies, and birds. He imagined them being human-sized and moving with the jerkiness of robots in an old science fiction movie. They were furry on the outside, but the fur covered a hard metal skeleton filled with gears and circuits. Sometimes he drew the animals' exposed metal skeletons, or sketched them with the fur peeled back to show some sort of mechanical workings underneath. It was a creepy effect, like seeing a person's skull peeking out from beneath their skin. Oswald was so immersed in his drawing that he was startled when Miss Meacham turned off the lights to show a movie. Movies always seemed like a teacher's final act of desperation on the day before break, a way to keep the kids quiet and relatively still for an hour and a half before setting them loose for the summer. The movie Miss Meacham chose was, in Oswald's opinion, too babyish for a room full of 5th graders. It was about a farm with talking animals. He had watched it before, but he watched it again because really, what else did he have to do? Bye, dog. Oh. Bye, doggy. At recess, kids stood around tossing a ball back and forth and talking about what they were going to do over the summer. I'm going to football camp. I'm going to basketball camp. I'm going to hang out at my neighborhood pool. I'm going to stay with my grandparents in Florida. Oswald sat on a bench and listened. For him, there were no camps, and no pool memberships, and no trips because there was no money. So he'd draw pictures, play his old video games that he'd already beaten 1,000 times, maybe go to the library. If Ben were still there, it would be different. Even if they were just doing the same old stuff, they'd be doing it together. Ben would always make Oswald riffing on video game characters or doing a perfect impersonation of one of their teachers. He and Ben had fun no matter what they did, but now a summer without Ben yawned before him, wide and empty. Most days, Oswald's mom worked from 12 p.m. until 12 a.m., so his dad had to make supper. Usually, they got by on frozen meals like lasagna or fish pot pie, or on cold cuts and potato salad, a snack space deli that were still good enough to eat but not good enough to sell. When Dad did cook, it was usually things that just required boiling water. While Dad got their dinner ready... Oh my god, I'm sorry, Chad. While Dad got their dinner ready, Oswald's job was to feed Jinx, their very spoiled black cat. Oswald often thought that he used about the same amount of cooking skill in opening Jinx's can of stinky cat food as his dad used in his dinner preparations. Tonight, Oswald and Dad were sitting down to plates of blue box mac and cheese and some canned corn his dad had zapped in the microwave. It was a very yellow meal. You know, I was thinking, his dad said, squirting ketchup onto his macaroni and cheese. Why did he do that? I know you're old enough to stay home by yourself some, but I don't like the idea of you staying by yourself the whole day while your mom and I are at work. I was thinking you could ride into town with me in the mornings, and I could drop you off at the library. You could read, surf the net. Oswald couldn't let this one slide. How out of date could his dad be? Nobody says surf the net anymore, Dad. They do now, because I just said it. Dad forked up some macaroni. Anyway, I thought you could hang out in the library in the mornings. When you get hungry, you head over to Jeff's Pizza for a slice and a soda. I could pick you up there once my shift's over at 3. Oswald considered for a moment. Jeff's Pizza was kind of weird. It wasn't dirty exactly, but it was run down. The vinyl on the booth seats had been repaired with duct tape. And the plastic letters had fallen off the menu board above the counter, so the listed toppings included pepperoni and hamburger. It was clear that Jeff's Pizza used to be something bigger and better than it now was. There were tons of unused floor space and lots of unused electrical outlets along the base of the walls. Also, on the far wall was a small stage, even though there were no performances there, not even so much as a karaoke night. It was a stranger place, sad and not what it had once been, like the rest of the town. That being said, the pizza was decent, and more important, it was the only pizza in town if you didn't count the kind, the frozen food department, at the snack space. My volume okay, chat? I can't tell. Light. Hopefully it's okay. I'm on normal latency. I forgot to lower the latency so that I could see your guys' chat messages more, but please let me know if it is more quiet when I read, if I have to speak up when I read, because, of course, this is supposed to be entertaining for you guys. Thoughts on audiobooks? The audio is fine. That's great to hear. Also, hi, Frame. How you doing, man? I'm glad to see you're back with us. If you couldn't tell, we're reading FNAF Fazbear Frights #1 Into the Pit. I'm going to see if I can read all of the books, but because we're already at 22 minutes and we haven't even barely scratched the first story, we might do everything. We might do everything. Or we might do like one story at a time. This can be an ongoing series every day, so if that's the case, that's exciting. But for now, we're going to keep reading. That being said, I think I already read that. Yes, I did. The new good restaurants in town, including Gino's Pizza and Macro's Pizza, which unlike Jeff's had real pizza maker names, had closed their doors not long after the mill had. So you'll give me the money for pizza? Oswald asked. Since Dad's job loss, Oswald's allowance had dwindled to practically nothing. You've been waiting for the stream? I'm so happy to hear that, Frame. Happy that you enjoy my content. That makes me very happy. Dad smiled. Kind of sad smile. It seemed to Oswald. Oh, a kind of sad smile it seemed to Oswald. Son, we're bad off, but we're not so bad off I can't spot you $3.50 for a slice and a soda. Okay, Oswald said. It was hard to say no to a warm, gooey cheese slice. Since it wasn't a school night and wouldn't be again for quite some time, Oswald stayed up after Dad went to bed and watched an old Japanese monster movie. Jinx curled up purring on his lap. Oswald had seen a lot of B-grade Japanese horror films, but this one, Zendrelix and Megazendrelix, was new to him. As always, Zendrelix just looked like a giant dragon thing, but Megazendrelix reminded him of the mechanical animals he drew when he stripped them of their fur. He laughed at the movie's special effects. The train Zendrelix destroyed was clearly a toy, and at how the actor's lip movements didn't match the dubbed in English. Somehow, though, he always found himself rooting for Zendrelix. Even though he was just a guy in a rubber suit, somehow he managed to have a lot of personality. In bed, he tried to count his blessings. He didn't have Ben, but he had monster movies in the library and lunchtime pizza slices. It was better than nothing. But it still wasn't going to be enough to keep him going all summer. Please, he wished, his eyes closed tight. Please let something interesting happen. Quitting brick filming, and I'm going to get a PC to emulate games and make video game topic videos. That's awesome, Frame. I'm so proud of you, man. That's genuinely great to hear. I hope that goes really well for you. Trust me, once you get into gaming content, it gets a lot easier. It's a bigger audience. It can help you grow a lot more. I'm very sorry to hear that you're quitting brick filming. But hopefully it was under good circumstances, and hopefully, I genuinely hope your video game videos do well, man. Genuinely. Coffee and bacon. The coffee he could do without, but the bacon smelled amazing. Breakfast meant time with his mom. Often the only time he got with her until the weekend. After one necessary stop, he hurried down the hall to the kitchen. Well, look at that. My rising sixth grader has risen. Mom was standing over the stove with her fuzzy pink bathrobe, her blonde hair pulled back in a ponytail, flipping. Oh, yum, were those pancakes? Hi, Mom. She opened her arms. I demand a morning hug. Oswald sighed like it annoyed him, but he went over and hugged her. It was funny. With Dad, he always said he was too old for hugs, but he never turned down his mom's open arms. Maybe it was because he didn't get to spend much time with her during the week. While he and Dad spent so much time together, they sometimes got on each other's nerves. He knew Mom missed him and felt bad for having to work such long hours, but he also knew that since Dad's job at the snack space was just part-time, Mom's long hours were most of the reason the bills were getting. Mom always said that adult life was a fight between time and money. The more money you earned to spend on bills and necessities, the less time you got to spend with your family. It was a difficult balance. Oswald sat down at the kitchen table and thanked his mom when she poured his orange juice. That's an awful pop. Pretty glad I'm leaving brick filming since I'm not enjoying it anymore. Also, thanks. No problem, man. Again, really hope that's going well. Exactly. Same with Dolly. We just hope that at the end, it's doing really good. First day of summer break, huh? Mom went back to the stove to scoop up a pancake with her spatula. Uh-huh. He probably should have tried to sound more enthusiastic, but he couldn't muster the energy. She slid the pancake onto his plate, then served him 2 strips of bacon. Not the same without Ben, huh? He shook his head. He wasn't going to cry. Mom ruffled his hair. I know, it's a bummer, but hey, maybe a new friend will move to town. Oswald looked at her hopeful face. Why should anybody move here? Okay, I see your point, Mom said, piling on another pancake. But you never know. Or maybe somebody cool already lives here. Somebody you don't even know yet. Maybe, but I doubt it, Oswald said. These pancakes are great, though. Mom smiled and ruffled his hair again. Well, I've got that going for me anyway. You want some more bacon? If you do, you'd better grab it before your dad gets in here and vacuums it all up. Sure, it was Oswald's personal policy never to refuse more bacon. The library was actually kind of fun. He found the latest book in a science fiction series he liked and a manga that looked interesting. As always, he had to wait forever to use the computers because they were all taken by people who looked like they had no place else to be. Men with scraggly beards wearing layers of ratty clothing, 2 thin women with sad eyes and bad teeth. He waited his turn politely, knowing that some of these people used the library for shelter during the day and spent the night on the streets. Jeff's pizza was as weird as he remembered. The big empty space beyond the booths and tables was like a dance floor where nobody danced. The walls were painted a pale yellow, but they must have used cheap paint or only one coat, because shapes of whatever had been on the walls or were still visible. It had probably been some kind of mural with people or animals, but now it was just a shadow. It was just a shadow behind a thin veil of yellow paint. Oswald sometimes tried to figure out what the shapes were, but they were too blobby to make out. Then there was a stage that never got used, standing empty but seemingly waiting for something. Though a feature even weirder than the stage lay in the back right corner. It was a large rectangular pen surrounded by yellow netting, but it had been roped off with a sign that said, "Do not use." The pen itself was filled with red, blue, and green plastic balls that had probably been brightly colored once but were now faded and fuzzy with dust. Oh yeah, no, Frame, I really want to play Splatoon 2, especially with the sale going on, but I spent all my money on Ring Fit Adventure because I found it for like $50 at a resale shop, and I think I got the better one out of the both, in my opinion, but dude, I would be so down to play that Splatfest. That sounds like so much fun, especially with the Mario. Oswald knew that ball pits had been popular features in kiddie playlands, but had largely disappeared, sense of concerns about hygiene. After all, who was going to disinfect all those balls? Oswald had no doubt that if ball pits had still been popular when he was little, his mom would have let him play in one. As a licensed practical nurse, she was always happy to point out places she found to be too germy to play in. When Oswald would complain that she never lets him have any fun, she'd say, You know what's not fun? Pink eye. Except for the empty stage and the ball pit, the strangest feature in Jeff's pizza was Jeff himself. He seemed to be the only person who worked there, so we both took orders at the counter and made the pizzas. But the place was never crowded enough that this was a problem. Today, like all other days, Jeff looked as if he hadn't slept in a week. His dark hair was sticking up in weird places, and he had alarming bags under his bloodshot eyes. His apron was stained with both recent and ancient tomato sauce. "What can I get you?" he asked Oswald, sounding bored. "A cheese slice and an orange soda, please," Oswald said. Jeff stared off into the distance as though he had to think about whether the request was a reasonable one or not. Finally, he said, "Okay, $3.50. One thing you could say about Jeff's pizza slices: they were huge. Jeff served them on flimsy white paper plates that were soon stained with grease, and the corners of the triangles always overlapped the plate's rims. Oswald settled into a booth with his slice and soda. First bite, the tip of the triangle, was always the best. Somehow, the proportions of all the flavors in that bite were perfect. He savored the warm, melty cheese, the tangy sauce, and the pleasantly greasy crust. As he ate, he looked around at the few other customers. A pair of mechanics from the oil change place had folded up their pepperoni slices and were eating them like sandwiches. A table full of office workers clumsily attacked their slices with plastic forks and knives so they wouldn't drip sauce on their ties and blouses, Oswald guessed. After Oswald finished his slice, he wished for one more of his greasy fingers. After Oswald wished his slice, he wished for one more, but he knew he didn't have the money for it, so he wiped off his greasy fingers and took out his library book. He sipped his soda and read, falling into a world where kids with secret powers went to a special school to learn how to fight evil. Hi, Matthias. Hi, I'm sorry. Is it Matthias or Matthias? I think it's Matthias. Hello. We are reading the FNAF books. Spoilers, I guess. It's got disturbing themes if that's not your thing. Happy to have you, though. So far, we are into the pit. Also, you're super close to 100. I think you will get there in 2 or 3 months, no doubt. I really hope so, especially with the next video. For those who are actually wondering what that's going to be, I am hoping to make, essentially, Cat Mario safe cookies, essentially to ride on the hype for Super Mario 3D World. I just have to wait for this certain camera stand to come up because my old tripod that I used to record stuff with when I still used my phone, I just noticed you went from 69 to 70. Congrats. Thank you, Dolly. We have to get it at a store, but I can't get to that store until Saturday. And so I just decided, fuck it, I'm just going to read the FNAF books and show my secret, complete adoration for Scott Cawthon and his work. I left my... Okay. Kid, man's voice startled Oswald out of the story. He looked up to see Jeff in his sauce-stained apron. Oswald figured he had outstayed his welcome. He had sat in a booth reading for 2 hours, and after having bought a meal that cost oh my god. Okay, let's try this again. He had sat in a booth reading for 2 hours after having bought a meal that cost less than $4. Lord, my want for a sip of water has completely numbed my brain into complete smoothness. Okay. Water ingested. Yes, sir, Oswald said, because politeness never hurt. I got a couple more cheese slices that didn't sell at lunch. You want them? Oh, Oswald said. No thanks, I don't have any more money. Wish he did, though. On the house, Jeff said. I just have to throw them out anyway. Oh, okay, sure, thanks. Jeff picked up Oswald's empty cup. I'll get you some more orange soda while I'm at it. Thanks. It was funny. Jeff's expression never changed. He looked tired and miserable, even when he was being extra nice. Jeff brought 2 slices stacked on a paper plate and a fresh cup of orange soda. Here you go, kid. he said, setting down the cup and the plate. Plate, not plate. Thank you. Oswald wondered for a minute if Jeff felt sorry for him, if Jeff might think he was terribly poor like the homeless people who hung out all day in the library, instead of just the regular, barely making ends meet poor that he was. But then Oswald figured if there was free pizza sitting in front of you, maybe it wasn't time to worry about the reasons for it. Maybe it was just time to eat. Oswald had no problems polishing off the 2 huge slices. For the past month, his appetite had been unstoppable. When Mom cooked him piles of pancakes in the morning, he said he must be having a growth spurt because he was eating them like he had a hollow leg. His phone vibrated in his pocket and this. Ooh. Sorry, I'm jarbling up a bunch of chat. I don't know why. I've been reading for like 30 minutes already. His phone vibrated in his pocket the second he sucked down the last of his soda. Looked at his dad's text. We'll be out front at Jeff's in 2 minutes. Perfect timing. It had been a good day. The days at the library and Jeff's Pizza started to add up. First couple of weeks had been great, but now the library didn't have the next book in the series he was reading. He had grown bored of his online fantasy game, which, while advertised as free, now wouldn't let him advance any further without paying money. He had gotten tired of not having anybody his age to hang out with. He hadn't gotten tired of pizza yet, but he was starting to imagine that he might in the future. Tonight was family fun night, a one night a week event that varied depending on Mom's work schedule. Back when the mill was open, family fun night meant dinner in a restaurant, pizza or Chinese or Mexican. After their meal, they'd do some fun activity together. They'd go to the movies if something kid-friendly was playing, but if not, they'd go to the bowling alley or to the roller rink where Mom and Dad used to go on dates when they were in high school. Mom and Dad were great skaters, and and Oswald was terrible, but they'd skate on either side of him, holding his hands and keeping him up. They'd usually top off their evening with a waffle cone at the ice cream place downtown. Oswald and Mom would make fun of Dad because no matter what ice cream flavors were available, he always got vanilla. I remember playing FNAF 2's demo one time with my friend because he kept calling me a baby for not wanting to play it, so I played it and I survived. Also, I'm pretty sure this is the first FNAF... Yeah, yeah, sadly it is. That's funny, though. I remember playing none of the FNAF games ever. As much as I am a big fan of the FNAF series, I'm too much of a fucking wuss to play the games. I just love the lore, and I love the story and the gameplay as much as I don't play the games. I'm planning on playing FNAF World and playing the new game whenever it comes out, because that game I actually have the means to play it with, because now I have a PC. But, I mean, if I had to actually choose games that I'd play the first one, and I'd play the second one. And then with that, maybe 6? I'd also play Sister Location. Thing is, I've never played much Love Being Scared. I legit, I have only recently played the, I've only recently played Dead by Daylight, and that is the first horror game I've ever owned. And that is very embarrassing to say, because I'm almost a legal adult, and I've never played a horror game until then, because I'm a little Nintendo baby boy. But, yeah, I remember, my earliest memory with FNAF was when my cousin showed us the game on a Skype call, and then I remember locking myself in the bathroom because I thought the animatronics were gonna come at me as a kid. I know nothing about FNAF. This is the first time I'm hearing about the lore. This is not the lore. This essentially is like how, it's sort of set in an alternate universe. All these books are connected in their own separate universe. Maybe talking about the FNAF lore can be a completely different video once I get my own personal grasp on it, but it's a weird franchise, man. Super weird. But soy fan? Oh, that hurts. I just realized what that guy said. I'm not a soy fan. Almost a legal teen. Oh, dang. Well, that's impressive. You started your YouTube channel way later than I did. Or no, way earlier than I did. I understand that I could have started my YouTube channel way earlier, but I feel having an actual understanding of how games work, I don't know, just having an actual understanding of my personal thoughts on video games. It's nice to do that now instead of having those really dated opinions that I might have had as a stupid kid when I was younger. No offense to you, of course, but man, you'll definitely grow a lot more in the span than I will, honestly. Started when you were 11. Yeah, I started last year. I've always wanted to do YouTube stuff, but I only had my phone, and it was only a year ago when I realized I could do stuff with my phone, and I realized you can just get by with the technological limitations that you have. I still don't think I'm perfect by any means, but I'm happy that I have a PC now. I'm gonna get back to reading. It's been a hot second since I've back on. Since the mill closed down, though, family fun night had turned into an at-home affair. Mom would make something for dinner that was easy but festive, like tacos from a mix or hot dogs. They'd eat and then play board games or watch a movie they'd rented from Redbox. It was still fun, of course, but sometimes Oswald wished aloud for the old days of seeing new movies at the theater and having waffle cones after. Dad had to remind him that the important thing was that they all got to spend time together. Sometimes, when the weather was nice, they'd have a family fun night. They'd pack a picnic of cold cuts and salads, courtesy of the snack space, and head over to the state park. They'd eat their dinner at a wooden table and watch the squirrels and birds and raccoons. Afterwards, they'd go for a walk on one of the hiking trails. These outings were always a nice change, but Oswald was also aware of why these were the only family fun nights that ever got them out of the house. Picnics. Free. I really appreciate that, Dolly. I'm happy that I do seem to at least know what I'm talking about, in a sense. Jeez, yeah. Early... Man, I couldn't imagine doing an early start. I mean, I didn't even have an actual phone until I was 13. I had, like, the flip phones, and I couldn't record anything on that, let alone upload it to you. Man, that's weird to look back onto. Wow. Tonight, they were staying in. Mom had made spaghetti and garlic bread. They had played a game of Clue, which Mom won as she usually did, and now they were piled up on the couch together in their pajamas with a huge bowl of popcorn between them, watching a remake of an old science fiction movie. Once the movie was over, Dad said, "Well, that was pretty good, but not as good as the real version." "What do you mean the real version?" Oswald said. "That was a real version." "Not really," Dad said. "I mean, it was set in the same universe as the real version, but it was kind of a cheap knockoff of the one that came out when I was a kid." Dad always had been so opinionated. He could never just watch something and enjoy it. "So the best movies are always the ones that you watched when you were a kid," Oswald said. "Not always, but in this case, yes." Dad was settling in, Oswald could tell, for one of his favorite things, a good argument. "But the special effects in the original version stink," Oswald said. "All those puppets and rubber masks." And that's weird to think, Frame. I remember recording stuff on my DS. That's probably the earliest I actually did touch content. I remember one video where it was just me, like, recording my face on this giant metal slide that I went to on a field trip, and I was just like, oh, it'd be really funny if I slowed it down, and that made me laugh for, like, 5 hours of just me screaming down a slide with the camera shoved in my face. The bad DS, like, the bad 3DS camera, just really slow and a low, like, it was like, oh, and that was just comedy defined as a kid. I don't, because it isn't. Not really that funny. "I'll take a puppet or model over CGI any day," Dad said, leaning back on the couch and propping his feet on the coffee table. "That stuff is so slick and fake. It's got no warmth, no texture, and besides, you like those old Zentrelix movies, and the special effects in those are terrible." Yeah, but I just watched those to make fun of them, Oswald said. Even though he really did think Zandrelix was pretty cool. Mom came in from the kitchen with bowls of ice cream. Not as good as the waffle cone place, but nothing to turn your nose up at either. Okay, if you guys don't cut out the nerd argument, I'm going to pick the next movie we watch. It's going to be a romantic comedy. Oswald and his dad shut up immediately. Just about what I thought, Mom said, passing around the bowls of ice cream. Yeah, surprisingly, it was not. That's the same thing back in high school. I remember doing, like, I think my entire school. I'm still going through my senior year, but I remember I remember a lot of people. Ever since I started my channel, they would talk to me about my channel and say, "How's that going?" And I remember someone asked me if I could join their podcast, but it was a joke. But still, that's about the closest that anyone ever made to actually making fun of me for having a YouTube channel. Granted, it's a lot more mainstream nowadays. No, the DS camera was meant to be messed around with. It was like that was one of the selling points, especially with the DSi, how you could put the Mario hat and nose on the camera. It was such a simple filter. Like, the DSi was like the original Snapchat in terms of filters and stuff. No, I'm 17. I'm about to turn 18 soon. Senior year of high school and all that. Really, really weird to think, though. Back to the book. As Oswald was lying in bed sketching his mechanical animals, his phone vibrated on his nightstand. There was only one person other than his parents who ever texted him. "Hey," Ben had typed on the screen. "Hey, back," Oswald typed. "How's your summer?" "Awesome, at Myrtle Beach for vacation. So cool, arcades and mini golf everywhere." "Jealous," Oswald typed, and he meant it. A beach with arcades and mini golf really did sound awesome. "Wish you were here," Ben typed. "Me too." "How's your summer?" "Okay," Oswald texted. He was briefly tempted to make his summer sound cooler than it was, but he can never lie to Ben. "Been going to the library a lot. Lunch at Jeff's Pizza." "That's all?" It did sound pathetic compared with a family trip to the beach. He texted pretty much, yeah. "I'm sorry," Ben texted, and then, "That pizza place is creepy." They chatted a little while longer, and though Oswald was happy to hear from Ben, he was also sad that his friend was so far away and having such a good time without him. Monday morning, and Oswald was in a bad mood. Even his mom's pancakes didn't help. In the car, Dad turned up the radio too loud. It was some stupid song about a tractor. Oswald reached for the knob and turned it down. "Hey, dude, driver picks the music, you know that," Dad said. He turned the awful song back up even louder. "It's bad music," Oswald said. "I'm trying to save you from yourself." "Well, I don't like those video game songs you listen to," Dad said, "but I don't just barge into your room and turn them off." Are you talking about, are you talking about the one with Nicolas Cage, or are you talking about the Banana Split show one? Because I've heard of both, and they both look actually really. I've seen the Banana Split show. That one's pretty fun. That one's pretty good. It's a pretty good movie. Whatever it's called for the Nicolas Cage one, that one looks genuinely really cool. Because it seems like, the guy fights the animatronics, which seems really cool. Especially with it being Nicolas Cage. The Cage one, yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah, I'm gonna get a sip of water quick and then we'll back to. We've been streaming almost an hour. About an hour. Yeah, we started roughly 5. Yeah, Willy's Wonderland. That's it. Yep. And good job, Dolly. I would not have remembered that. Now, are you fine with me calling it Dolly, or is it Dally? Or Daily? How would you pronounce that, really? Terribly sorry. I don't want to offend at all. Since you are, honestly, like a usual hearer. What's the word? Regular. There is. You're like a regular here at this. Is like just saying Dolly. Wally's Wonderland. Oh. Okay. I did think it was Will. Sitting in a chair 30 minutes just reading a book you hunched over doesn't really... It's like the Daily Mail. I don't mind. I was gonna say, yeah, Daily Dolly. I don't care. But if you're comfortable with me just calling it Dolly because it's easier for me to say, then I appreciate it, man. Yeah, Oswald said, but I don't force you to listen to them either. Dad turned the radio down. What's with the attitude, son? Whatever's bothering you, it's not just that I like country music. Oswald didn't feel like talking, but clearly he was being forced to. And once he opened his mouth, he was surprised to feel complaints erupting from him like lava from a volcano. I'm tired of every day being exactly the same. Ben texted me yesterday. He's at Myrtle Beach having an awesome time. He wanted to know what I was doing, and I told him I was going to the library and Jeff's Pizza every day. And you know what he texted back? I'm sorry, and the pizza place is creepy. Dad sighed. I'm sorry we can't go on vacation and have an awesome time, Oz. Things are hard right now where money's concerned. I'm sorry it affects you. You're a kid. You shouldn't have to worry about money. I'm hoping they'll move me to a full-time at the store in the fall. That'll help a lot, and if I get promoted to deli manager, it'll be another $1.50 an hour. Oswald knew he shouldn't say what he was about to say, but here he went anyway. Ben's dad got a job that pays even better than his old job at the mill. Dad tightened his grip at the steering wheel. Yeah, well, and Ben's dad had to move 500 miles away to get that job. His voice sounded tight as his grip on the wheel, and Oswald could tell his jaw was clenched. Your mom and I talked about it, but we decided not to move, especially with your grandma living here and needing help sometimes. This is our home, kiddo, and things aren't perfect, but we just have to make the best of them. Oswald felt himself crossing the line from grumbling into grounding territory. But why did some people get the best of everything and others had to settle for free library visits and cheap pizza? And so every day you toss me out of the street like garbage? If this is the best of things, I'd hate to see the worst. Now, son, don't you think that's a little dramatic? Oswald didn't stick around to hear the rest of his dad's criticism. He got out of the car and slammed the door. His dad sped away, probably glad to get rid of him. Ooh. Yikes. That's, yeesh. At lunchtime, he sat in Jeff's Pizza with his slice of soda. Every day, a cheese slice, if his dad wasn't so stingy. Stingy, he'd give him another $1 so he could have pepperoni or sausage, but no, it had to be the cheapest pizza you could get. Sure, money was tight, but really was another $1 a day going to break the bank? Looking around the place, Oswald decided Ben was right. Jeff's Pizza was creepy. There was those shadowy painted-over figures on the walls, the dusty abandoned ball pit. When he thought about it, Jeff was kind of creepy, too. Looked 100 years old, but probably just 30. With those heavy-lidded bloodshot eyes and stained apron, slow speech of movement, he was like a zombie pizza chef. What's my favorite channel ever? Ooh, that's a hard one. Dude, Frame, that's a really good question. If I had to say... Ugh. Okay, that's hard. The first two that are coming out of my head right now, at least ones that I'm watching right now, is Jay Aubrey and then Arlo. Arlo, the blue puppet guy, of course. He's just, he gives me really good Nintendo stuff, like good Nintendo news, and he inspires me a lot in terms of content. But then a channel that I can watch a million times, like his videos I can watch a million times, is Jay Aubrey. He does sort of documentaries about these, like, figures, popular figures, mostly on YouTube or social media, that just fell from grace, and then he just talks about the experience. I remember the most recent one was about Cuties, that disgusting movie that Netflix, I think, still has on their website, which is disgusting, but it's Jay Aubrey, really good person, if you're down to kind of get a little negative on people, since they were negative on themselves, but, oh well. Jay Aubrey used to make brick films, you know, The Circle of Life. I never knew about that. That is very funny. If that is true, I've no clue, but man, that is interesting. Oswald thought about his argument with Dad that morning. Soon Dad would be texting him, expecting him to come outside to the car. Well, today was going to be different. Today, Dad would have to come and find him. There was one perfect place to hide. Oswald was going into the ball pit. The pit was pretty gross, really. Oswald, though obviously untouched for years, the plastic spears were covered in a gray fuzzy dust, but hiding there would be a great prank on his dad. His dad, who was always dropping him off and picking him up like somebody's dry cleaning, would actually have to get out of the car, make an effort for a change. Oswald wouldn't make it easy for him either. Aubrey Studios, I had no clue. That's interesting. I never knew about that. Oswald took off his shoes. Yes, the ball pit was disgusting, but at least getting into it would make today different from all the other days that had come before it. Climbed into the pit and felt the balls parting to make room for his body. He moved his arms and legs. It was like swimming if you could swim in a dry plastic in a bunch of dry plastic spheres. He found his footing at the bottom of the pit. Some of the balls were strangely sticky, but he tried not to think about why. If he was going to trick his dad, he was going to have to go all the way under. He took a deep breath as if he were about to jump into a swimming pool. Fell to his knee. That put him in up to his neck. Wriggling around so he was sitting on the pit's floor, put his head under too. The balls spread apart far enough that he could breathe, but it was dark and made him feel claustrophobic. The place stank of dust and mildew. Pink eye, he could hear his mother's voice saying, "You're going to get pink eye." The smell really was getting to him. The dust tickled his nose, he felt a sneeze coming on, but he couldn't move his hand through the spheres fast enough to reach his nose and muffle it. He sneezed 3 times, each one louder than the one before. Oswald didn't know if his dad was looking for him yet, but if he was, the sneezing ball pit had probably given away his location. Because it was too dark and too gross in here, he had to come up for air. As he rose, his ears were assaulted by the sound of beeping electronics and yelling and laughing kids. It took a few seconds for his eyes to adjust from the darkness of the pit to the brightness that now surrounded him. The flashing lights and vivid colors. He looked around and muttered, "Odo, I don't think we're in Kansas anymore." Funny reference. Thank you, Scott Cawthon. The walls were lined with shiny arcade cabinets, housing games he'd heard his dad talk about from his own childhood. Miss Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, Frogger, Cubert, Galaga. A neon-lighted claw machine displayed plush blue elf-like creatures, orange cartoon cats. He looked down at the pit and realized he was surrounded by little kids wallowing in the strangely clean and now brightly colored plastic orbs. He stood over the preschoolers like a giant. Stepped out of the pit to find his shoes, but they were gone. Standing on the colorful carpet in his sock feet, he looked around. There were lots of kids his age and younger, but there was something different about them. Everyone's hair was styled and fluffy, and the boys wore polo shirts in colors a lot of guys wouldn't be caught dead in, like pink or aqua. The girls' hair was almost unbelievably big, with bangs that stood out on their foreheads like claws. They wore pastel-colored tops that matched their pastel-colored shoes. The colors, the lights, the sounds, it was sensory overload. And what was that music? Oswald overlooked around to see where it was coming from. Across the room, on a small stage, a trio of animatronic animals blinked their big, blank eyes, opened and closed their mouths, and pivoted back and forth in sync with a jangly, annoying song. There was a brown bear, a blue rabbit with a red bow tie, and some kind of bird girl. It reminded Oswald of the mechanical animals he had caught himself drawing lately. The difference was that he could never decide if the animals in his drawings were cute or creepy. These were creepy. Strangely, though, the dozen or so little kids surrounding the stage didn't seem to think so. They were wearing birthday party hats with pictures of the characters on them, and dancing and laughing and having a great time. When the smell of pizza hit Oswald's nose, he understood. He was still in Jeff's Pizza, or more accurately, what Jeff's Pizza had been before Jeff took over. The ball pit was new and not roped off. All the outlets on the wall had arcade games plugged into them, and he turned around to face the left wall. In the shapes of the shadows on the wall of Jeff's Pizza was a mural, some characters performing on the stage. The brown bear, the blue rabbit, and the bird girl. Below their faces were the words, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Pause there. Yeah, there's no pause for a while. I'm gonna read chat for a second. Thoughts on Splatoon? I wish I got into it. That's legit. It's a fun game. I wish I got into it. The competitive scene still is pretty active, surprisingly, which I think is awesome. That's about all I have to say about Splatoon. Something I wish I got into. I wish I could get into, but I spent all my money on Ring Fit, so. Okay. No, I should be good. I'm gonna drink a bit of water, then we'll get back into reading. Jeez, this is tiring. Yeah, I've been streaming for an hour, reading the book, and we're only getting into the good stuff. We're just now getting into the good parts of this book. I'm traveling ball pit. Yeah, it's just love Splatoon. I know a lot of people do, and the community is so cool. I wish I got into that community, but Mario kept calling my name, and he was like, "Get back into bed, big boy." And I was like, "Yes, daddy." The back of my throat is getting really sore. Probably once I finish this book, we're going to call it because I'm easily going to be streaming for another 30 minutes or another hour. Not that you guys... not that you guys are angry about that. Not saying that in a mean way. I love you all. Yes, Frame, that is very true. Very true, Frame. Hey, Jane, how you doing? We are playing the... Or not, we're not playing. We are reading the FNAF books, if you couldn't tell. Mario seems like a groomer. Yeah, I never thought of that about Mario, but then again, I never thought about that like, Call Me Carson, so... Have that going for you. I'm gonna go back to reading. Sorry if I'm not reading any messages for a bit. I want to see if we can get through with this, and then I'll talk. I'm probably not gonna read chat for a hot second, so bear with me. Oswald's insides turned into ice water. How had this happened? He knew where he was, but he didn't know when it was or how he got here. Somebody bumped into him, and he jumped more than normal. Since he felt the physical contact, this must not be a dream. He couldn't decide if this fact was good news or not. Sorry, dude, the kid said. He was about Oswald's age, and he was wearing a light yellow polo with the collar turned up, tucked into what looked like a pair of dad jeans. White tennis shoes he had on were huge, like clown shoes. He looked as if he'd spent a long time fixing his hair. Are you okay? Yeah, sure, Oswald said. He wasn't sure if he was okay, actually, but he didn't know how to begin to explain his situation. I've not seen you here before, the kid said. Yeah, Oswald said, trying to figure out the explanation that wouldn't sound too weird. I'm just visiting here, staying with my grandma for a few weeks. This place is great, though. All these old games. Old games, the kid said, raising an eyebrow. You're joking, right? I don't know where you're from, but Freddy's has the newest games around here. That's why the lines to play them are so long. Oh yeah, I was just kidding, Oswald said, because he couldn't think of anything else to say. He had heard his dad talk about playing a lot of these games when he was a kid. Absurdly hard games, he said, on which he had wasted many hours and many quarters. I'm Chip, the kid said, running his fingers through his poofy hair. Me and my buddy Mike, you know, I let a tall black kid wearing huge eyeglasses, shirt with... Sorry. In a shirt with white, red, and blue stripes. We're about to play some skee-ball. Want to come with? Sure, Oswald said. It was nice to hang out with some other kids, even if they seemed to be kids from another time. He didn't think this was a dream, but it sure was as weird as one. You got a name? Mike said, looking at Oswald like he was some kind of strange specimen. Oh, sure, I'm Oswald. He had been too weirded out to remember to introduce himself. Mike gave him a friendly slap on the back. Well, I've got to warn you, Oswald, I'm the best at skee-ball. But I'll go easy on you since you're new here. Thanks for having mercy on me, Oswald said. He followed them to the skee-ball area. On the way, they passed somebody in a rabbit suit that looked like a yellow version of the animatronic rabbit on stage. Nobody else seemed to be paying attention to the rabbit guy. So Oswald didn't say anything. It was probably a Freddy Fazbear's employee dressed up to entertain the little kids at the birthday party. Mike wasn't kidding about being a beast at skee-ball. He easily beat Chip and Oswald 3 times. But he was a good sport, and they spent the whole time joking around. It felt good to be included. But after another couple of games, Oswald started to worry. What time was it really? How long has his dad been working for him? How is he going to get back to his real life? Sure, he wanted to give Dad a little scare, but he didn't want to scare the old man so much he got the police involved. Hey guys, I'd better run, Oswald said. My grandma, he almost said, just texted me. But realized Chip and Mike would have no idea what he was talking about. Whenever this was, there were no cell phones. My grandma's supposed to pick me up in a few minutes. Okay, dude, maybe we'll catch you later, Chip said, and Mike gave a little nod and wave. Oswald left his companions, stood in a corner in his sock feet, wondered what to do. He was having some kind of magical experience. He was late getting back in. He was missing his shoes. He was like some sort of mixed-up guy Cinderella. How to get back? He would walk out the front door Freddy Fazbear's, but where would that take him? Might be the right place to find his dad's car waiting, but it wasn't the right time. Not the right decade, even. Then it dawned on him. Maybe the way out was the same way he got in. At the ball pit, a mom was telling her 2 little kids it was time to leave. He tried to argue with her, but she turned on her stern mom voice, threatened them with an early bedtime. Once they got out, he got in. Sank beneath the surface before anyone could see that a kid over the height limit was in the ball pit. How long to stay under? Randomly, he decided to count to 100, then stand. He rose to his feet and found himself standing at the dusty, roped-off ball pit at Jeff's Pizza. Climbed out and found his shoes right where he'd left them. His phone vibrated in his pockets, took it out and read, "We'll be there in 2 minutes." Had no time passed at all? He headed out the door, and Jeff called, "See you, kid," behind him. It's getting spicy, guys. It's getting a little spicy. Oh, I mean, first thing to pull off is the Rabbit Man. Of course, that's going to be the Spring Bonnie from the books. Of course, from the cover that I'm holding in my hand right now. Of course, this guy is definitely not going to be a good person at all. Who knows? I hope we see the hot Freddy that I have on my picture, though. I think that'll be pretty epic. Should I? I mean, I appreciate that, but for you guys probably don't know this, the people in chat, but I actually had a podcast when I was way younger. That was definitely when I started doing online entertainment, and it was a very interesting experience. But most of it was, I think it was like, I did something. I essentially read the Weenie books, if anyone actually remembers those, which are kind of like way more tame versions of these books. They were just like more goofy Goosebumps books, and they were really fun to read. They're some of my favorite books series ever. I'm enjoying this book a lot. But yeah, the podcast was me just reading a bunch, so I have some experience with blind reading and just reading it off. Very true, Dolly. Very true. It would be, let's just say, you would see something not quite visible on the still, to say the least. I want to do a podcast as voice, but my voice is trash and I have no friends. Dude, I mean, granted, your voice develops more as you get older. The more you talk with people, it happens. I'm terribly sorry about the no friends thing. Trust me, eventually you will get there. There's no better way to say that. When I was a kid, I had no friends. None at all. But I luckily went to a smaller school, and I essentially met with a group of outcasts, and we don't have the most in common, but we're great friends. And that eventually, I met with the friends of friends, and the group gets bigger. If you have no friend group or clique that you can instantly find and join, or you have no like after school activity you can join, one of my biggest suggestions is kind of do what I did and find the outcasts and just be one of them. It might sound weird, and it might make you look weird, but that's better in the chance of having friends. Yeah, let's get back to Freddy time. We gotta finish this freaking book before 7, dude. I cannot. I really cannot read. I cannot be reading a book for more than 2 hours, I feel like. So again, I'm just gonna stop reading until I get to a stopping point in the book. This looks great, Mom, Oswald said, sparing a sausage link with his fork. You're in a good mood today, Mom slid a waffle onto the plate. You're quite a contrast from yesterday when you were Mr. Grumpy Pants. Yeah, Oswald said. They're supposed to get my book in the library today. This statement was true, but it wasn't the reason Oswald was in a good mood. Of course, it wasn't like he could tell her the real reason. If he said, I discovered a ball pit at Jeff's Pizza that lets me travel in time, Mom would be dropping the waffles and picking up the phone to call the nearest child psychologist. Oswald picked up his book at the library but was too impatient to read it. He headed over to Jeff's Pizza as soon as it opened at 11. Jeff was in the kitchen when he got there, so he made a beeline for the pit. He shucked off his shoes, stepped in, and sank into the depths. Since it had seemed to work before, he counted to 100 before he stood. The animatronic band was playing some weird jangly song that was partially drowned out by the beeping, blipping, and dinging of a variety of games. He wandered the floor and took in the video games. The whack-a-mole, the neon-lighted token suckers that let you win some tickets, but probably not. He pushed the button at the right time. Older kids crowded around the video games. Preschoolers climbed on the crayon-colored play equipment. Pink guy, Oswald thought, though he had no room to talk, the way he was diving into the ball pit these days. Everyone looked as it had before. He had even caught sight of a calendar hanging on an open office that helped him pinpoint the date. 1985. Hey, it's Oswald! Chip was wearing a baby blue polo with his dad jeans and giant sneakers this time. Not a hair on his head was out of place. Hey, Oz, Mike said. He was wearing a Back to the Future t-shirt. Anybody ever call you that, like the Wizard of Oz? They do now, Oz said, grinning. He had gone from having the loneliest summer ever to having 2 new friends and a nickname. True, all of these seemed to be happening in the mid-1980s, but I get hung up on the details. Hey, Chip said. We just ordered a pizza. You want to come have some? We ordered a large, so there's more than we can eat. Speak for yourself, Mike said, but he was grinning. Okay, Chip said. How about I say it's more than we should eat? Want to join us? Oswald was curious how Freddy Fazbear's pizza compared with Jeff's. Sure, thanks. On the way to their table, they passed someone in the same yellow rabbit costume who was standing in a corner, still as a statue. Chip and Mike either didn't see him or ignored him. So Oswald tried to ignore him as well. Why hide in the corner like that, though? If he worked for the restaurant, surely he wasn't supposed to act all creepy. At the table, a young woman with big blonde hair and blue eyeshadow served them a large pizza with a pitcher of soda. In the background, the animatronic music played on. The pizza was pepperoni and sausage with a crispy crust, a nice change from plain cheese slices. You know, Mike said between bites, when I was little, I loved Freddy Fazbear's band. I even had a stuffed Freddy I used to sleep with. Now I look up at that stage, and those things give me the creeps. It's weird, huh? How stuff you like as a little kid gets creepy when you're older? Chip helped himself to another slice. Like clowns. Yeah, or dolls, Mike said between bites. Sometimes I look at my sister's dolls all lined up on the shelf in her room. It's like they're staring at me. Or like that guy in the yellow rabbit costume, Oswald thought, but he didn't say anything. After they demolished the pizza, they played some skee-ball, Mike mopping the floor with him again, but being really nice about it. Oswald didn't worry about time anymore, because apparently, time here didn't pass the same way as in his own time zone. After skee-ball, they took turns playing air hockey in pairs. Oswald was surprisingly decent at it, and even managed to beat Mike. Once. When they started to run low on tokens, Oswald thanked them for sharing their wealth, said he hoped to see them again soon. After they said their goodbyes, Oswald waited until no one was looking, and disappeared into the pit. We finally got the title! We got the title of the book! Woo! Oh. Oh, I'm terribly sorry to hear that, Frame. Yeah. No, this pandemic, the lack of human connection can really affect friendships. I know... Actually, that's a little too personal. I'm not going to say that. It's just, I understand how hard it is to try and make time for friends with the pandemic, and a lot of people not wanting you to go outside at all. It's hard. I really do agree. Yeah, again, that's just awful, man. I'm so sorry. Hopefully, although granted, not to make it sound weird or anything, but hopefully the YouTube channel can be a nice distraction to that. This channel can definitely be a really nice distraction to when life can hit you the hardest, and doing something like YouTube or doing a passion project can really help you out and stuff like that. And dude, if YouTube is like your outlet, focus on that some more. Try and your best. Again, it's like, for some people, doing YouTube is not meant to be a career at all. It's an outlet to voice their opinions or to just to have fun. If that's the case for you, and if maybe it's not something you need to do, but maybe it's something you should do, you know? It's just a suggestion. Again, really sorry to hear about your situation, man, but hopefully it does get better. Oh, definitely. Yeah, no, more internet. I definitely have a few extra internet friends from meeting my real life friends. Although personally on my end, I probably would not be able to have the online I'm terrible at making online friends, let alone like friends in general. It's easier for me to talk in person. It's I don't know. I've grown more as a human to where I strive conversation. If you can have like a good conversation with me, then dude, you're a genuine friend in my, if that makes you feel any better, my guy. Ooh. I don't know why I'm so burpy today, chat. I'm sorry. I'm normally never this. Okay. Hanging out with Chip and Mike turned into a regular thing. Today, they weren't even playing games, they were just sitting in a booth drinking sodas and talking, trying to ignore the animatronic animals' annoying music as much as they could. You know what movie I liked, Chip said? His polo shirt was peach-colored today. Oswald loved the guy, but really, didn't he own one shirt that wasn't the color of an Easter egg? The Eternal Song, he said. Seriously? Mike said, pushing his huge glasses on his nose. That movie was so boring. I was like, The Eternal Song is the perfect title for this movie because I don't think it's ever going to end. They all laughed, and then Chip said, "What did you think of it, Oz?" "I haven't seen that one," Oswald said. He said that a lot when hanging out with Chip and Mike. Oswald always listened to them talk about movies and shows they liked. When they mentioned one he didn't know, he'd look it up online when he got home. He made a list of 80s movies he wanted to watch and checked the TV listings on the DVR to see when any of them might be showing. Oswald participated in Chip and Mike's conversations as much as he could. It was kind of like being a foreign exchange student. He sometimes had to fake his way through by smiling and nodding and being generally agreeable. "Man, you need to get out more," Mike said. "Maybe you can go to the movies with Chip and me sometime." "That'd be cool," Oswald said, because what else could he say? "Actually, I'm from the distant future, and I don't think it's physically possible for me to see you any place but in Freddy Fazbear's Pizza in 1985. They'd both think that was a joke on Mike because his favorite movie was Back to the Future. "Name one movie you've seen that you really like," Chip said to Oswald. I'm trying to figure out what your taste is." Oswald's mind went blank. It was a movie from the 80s. E.T.? E.T.? Mike slapped the table laughing. E.T. was like 3 years ago. You really do need to get out more. "But they do not have movie theaters." "Oh, do they not have movie theaters where you came from?" "They do," Oswald thought. Yeah. And they have Netflix and PlayStation and YouTube and social media, but he didn't say it. Of course, there was technology Chip and Mike talked about that he had only the vaguest knowledge of, like VCRs and boomboxes and cassette tapes, and he constantly had to remind himself not to talk about things like cell phones and tablets and the internet. He tried not to wear t-shirts with characters and references that might confuse them or the other customers at 1985 Freddy Fazbear's. Yeah, we definitely need to bring you up to date, Chip said. If you only knew, Oswald thought. Hey, you wanna go play some games, Mike said. I feel the skee ball calling me, but I promise I'll go easy on you guys. Chip laughed. No, you won't. You'll murder us. That's foreshadowing. You guys go ahead, Oswald thought. I think I'll just stay at the table. What, and watch the show? Mike said, nodding in the direction of the creepy characters on the stage. Is something wrong? If you suddenly decided to like Freddy Fazbear's music, we need to get you help fast. No, nothing's wrong, Oswald said, but really something was. For his first few visits to 1985 Freddy Fazbear's, it hadn't even occurred to him that he was basically mooching off Chip and Mike's generosity, because he never had any money of his own. And even if he wasn't broke in his own time zone, would the money he brought from the present day even work in 1985? It was kind of pitiful being broke in 2 decades. Finally, he said, I just feel like I'm always taking your money because I never have any. Hey, dude, it's cool, Chip said. We hadn't even noticed. Yeah, Mike said, we just figured your grandma never gave you any money. I know my grandma doesn't, except when it's my birthday. They were really being nice, but Oswald still felt embarrassed. If they had talked about his lack of money, that meant they had noticed it. How about I just go hang out with you while you play, Oswald said. When he stood up, he felt a strange heaviness in his pockets. Something in him was so heavy he felt like his jeans might fall down. He reached in his pockets and pulled out double handfuls of 1985 Freddy Fazbear's game tokens. He produced handful after handful and dumped them on the table. Or we could all play using these, he said. He had no idea how to explain the magic that had just occurred. I guess I forgot I was wearing these pants. The one that had all these tokens in them. Chip and Mike looked a little confused. But then they grinned and started raking coins from one table into their empty soda cups. Oswald did the same. He decided just to go with the weirdness. He didn't know how the tokens got there, but then again, he didn't really know how he got here either. Oh, getting interesting, guys. Okay, so somehow it's a magic time-traveling ball pit that when you self-deprecate about how much money you have, it gives you the currency of the place that you're in. So make sure, chat, if at any point you go to a bank and you go to like a bank or a pawn shop and they have a ball pit, you swan dive in there, make sure no one sees you, then travel back to 1985 Freddy Fazbear's Bank and Pawn Shop so that you can go and get money or really valuable items. Just make sure you have big enough pockets, because if you somehow have like an ornate dagger in your pocket and you don't realize it, just don't try to take a flight. That's all I'm gonna say. How's everyone doing? It's been 30 minutes. Jesus. Okay, well, I'm gonna look at how many pages we have. Oh no. Like Back to the Future without the DeLorean. Yeah. So it looks like we're halfway. We are now halfway, chat. We are only now halfway. I'm gonna take more time to read this shit, because we are... Ugh, we gotta hurry up. In the morning, as Dad was driving him to the library, Oswald asked, Dad, how old were you in 1985? I was just a couple years older than you, Dad said. Other than baseball, all I could think about was how many quarters I had to spend at the arcade. Why do you ask? No reason in particular, Oswald said. I've just been doing some research. Jeff's Pizza, back before it was Jeff's Pizza, it was some kind of arcade, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. Dad's voice sounded strange. Nervous, maybe. He was quiet for a few seconds, then said, but it closed. A chatting stream would be cool. I feel like a chatting stream. I just feel like we need a bit more people for that. I do agree it would be really fun. Because, granted, a lot of my streams are just me talking to chat a lot. I'm probably going to get to... Trying to see. We're just going to get to a... Once we get to a good stopping point, when it gets near, like, 650, I'm going to stop it because we're going to be doing this... I'm going to try and do it daily because I have a lot of free time recently. So next time we get to a good stopping point, I'm probably going to end it. Just so you guys know. And then we'll just make sure to... I can try and do it at the same time. 5 o'clock? Yeah, no, let's do that. Okay, I'm going to try and do it 5 o'clock tomorrow. Or 5 o'clock CST tomorrow. Just the same time I got on air. If you want to join, we'll do that. Like everything else in this town, Oswald said. Pretty much, yeah, Dad said, pulling up in front of the library. Maybe it was Oswald's imagination, but it seemed like his dad was relieved to get to their destination so he wouldn't have to answer any more of his questions. At 11 o'clock sharp, Oswald headed over to Jeff's Pizza, as had become his habit. With Jeff nowhere in sight, Oswald proceeded to the pit. After his count to 100, he stood. There were noises. Oh no! Oh, we're getting to the good part. Okay. Sorry, I just realized I skipped a page and I accidentally read a bit, and we're getting to the good part. See, this is great. This is great. Sorry. After his count to 100, he stood. There were noises, but not the usual ones at Freddy Fazbear's. Screams, crying children, yells for help, the fast footfalls of people running. Chaos. Were Chip and Mike here? Were they okay? Was anybody here okay? He was afraid. Part of him wanted to disappear back into the pit, but he was worried about his friends. Also, he was burning with curiosity about what was going on. Even though he knew whatever it was horrible. He wasn't in danger, he told himself, because this was the past. A time way before he was born. His life couldn't be in danger in a time before he even existed. But his stomach was in knots. He moved through the crowd, past crying mothers running with their toddlers in their hands, past dads grasping children's hands and leading them swiftly towards the exit, their faces masks of shock. Chip? Mike, he called? But his friends were nowhere to be seen. Maybe they hadn't come to Freddy Fazbear's today. Maybe they were safe. Scared, but feeling as if he had to know what was happening, Oswald walked in the opposite direction from everyone else with an escalating feeling of dread. In front of him stood a man in the yellow bunny costume. It was a man under there. Bunny opened a door that said private and went inside. Oswald followed. The corridor was long and dark. Rabbit looked at him with blank eyes and an unchanging grin, then walked farther down the hall. Oswald wasn't chasing the rabbit. He was letting the rabbit lead him, as if he were in a terrifying version of Alice in Wonderland, going down the rabbit hole. Rabbit stopped in front of a door with a sign reading Party Room and beckoned for Oswald to come inside. Oswald was shaking with terror, but he was too curious to refuse. Besides, he kept thinking, you can't hurt me, I haven't even been born. Once inside the room, it took Oswald a few seconds to register what he was actually seeing, and a few more seconds for his brain to process it. They were lined up against the wall, which was painted with images of the place's mascots, the grinning bear, the blue bunny, and the bird girl. Half a dozen kids, none of them older than Oswald, their lifeless bodies propped into sitting positions, their legs stretched out in front of them. Some of them had their eyes closed as if asleep. Others' eyes were open, frozen in an empty, doll-like stare. They were all wearing Freddy Fazbear birthday party hats. Oswald couldn't tell how they had died, but he knew that Rabbit was responsible for it, that the Rabbit had wanted him to see his handiwork. Maybe the Rabbit wanted Oswald to be his next victim, to join the others lined up against the wall with their unseeing eyes. Oswald screamed. The yellow rabbit lunged for him as he ran out of the room and down the black corridor. Maybe the rabbit could hurt him, maybe he couldn't. Oswald didn't want to hang around long enough to find out. He ran across the now empty arcade towards the ball pit. Outside, the police siren screams matched Oswald's own. The rabbit ran after him, getting so close that a fuzzy paw brushed Oswald's back. Oswald dove into the pit. He counted to 100 as fast as he could. When he stood, the first thing he heard was Jeff's voice. "There's the little stinker." Oswald turned to see his dad stomping towards him while Jeff looked on. Dad looked furious. Jeff didn't look happy either. Not that he ever did. Oswald stood frozen, too overwhelmed to move. His dad grabbed his arm and pulled him out of the pit. "What were you thinking hiding in that nasty old thing?" Dad said. "Didn't you hear me calling you?" After Oswald was out, his dad leaned over the pit. "Look how dirty it is. Your mother..." A pair of yellow arms reached out the pit and pulled Dad under. Whoa, God. The struggle would have been cartoonish if it hadn't been so terrifying. Dad's feet in their brown work boots kicked up to the surface, only to disappear below. Then a pair of big fuzzy yellow feet appeared, only to disappear too. The balls in the pit roiled like a stormy sea, and then they were still. The yellow rabbit rose from the pit, adjusted his purple bow tie, brushed off his front, and turned towards Oswald, grinning. Oswald backed away, but the rabbit was beside him, its arm firmly around Oswald's shoulders, guiding him towards the exit. Oswald looked at Jeff, who had stood behind the counter. Maybe Jeff would help him, but Jeff wore the same hangdog expression he always wore and just said, "See you later, guys." How could anyone act like this situation was normal? Once the rabbit got him outside, it opened the passenger door of David's car and pushed up Dad's car. Jesus. Once the rabbit got him outside, it opened the passenger door of Dad's car and pushed Oswald in. Oswald watched as the bunny buckled its seatbelt and started the car. It tried to open the door, but the bunny had activated the power lock from the driver's side. The bunny's mouth was frozen in a rictus grin. Its eyes stared blankly. Oswald pushed the unlock button again, even though he knew it wouldn't. "Wait," Oswald said. "Can you do any of this? Can you even drive a car?" The bunny said nothing, but started the car and pulled it into the street. It stopped at a red light, so Oswald figured it must be able to see, and at least must know, the basic rules of driving. "What did you do to my dad? Where are you taking me?" Oswald could hear the panic in his voice. He wanted to sound strong and brave, but he was standing up for himself. And instead, he sounded scared and confused. Which he was. The bunny said nothing. The car made a familiar right turn, then a familiar left turn. Oswald's neighborhood. "How do you know where I live?" Oswald demanded. Still silent, the bunny turned into the driveway in front of Oswald's ranch-style house. "I'll run for it," Oswald thought. "As soon as the thing unlocks the car door, I'll run to a neighbor's house and call the police once I'm safely inside." The locks clicked. Oswald jumped out of the car. Somehow the bunny was standing right in front of him. It grabbed his arm, tried to break free, but the grip was too strong. The bunny dragged Oswald towards the door, then yanked off the chain around Oswald's neck that held his house key. Rabbit turned the key in the door and shoved Oswald inside. Then it stood in front of the door, blocking the exit. Jinx the cat wandered into the living room, took one look at the rabbit, arched her back, puffed out her tail, and hissed like a cat on a Halloween decoration. Oswald had never seen her act scared or unfriendly before, and he watched as she turned pale and fled down the hall. If Jinx knew this situation was bad, it must be really bad. "You can't do this," Oswald said to the rabbit, in tears. He didn't want to cry. He wanted to look strong, but he couldn't help it. This is kidnapping or something. My mom will be home soon, and she'll call the police." It was a total bluff, of course. His mom wouldn't be home until after midnight. Would he even be alive by the time his mom got home? Was his dad eaten alive now? He knew the bunny would grab him if he tried to make a run for the back door. "I'm going to my room now, okay? I'm not trying to escape, I'm just going to my room." He backed away and the bunny let him. As soon as he got inside the room, he slammed the door and locked it, took deep breaths, and tried to think. There was a window in his room, but it was high and too small to climb through. Under his bed, Jinx let out a low growl. Oswald could hear the bunny outside the door. If he made a phone call, it would hear him. But maybe he could send a text. He took out his phone and with shaking hands texted, "Mom, emergency. Something's wrong with Dad. Come home now." Oswald knew even as he sent it that she wouldn't be coming home now because she was always dealing with medical emergencies at work. Sometimes it took her a long time to check her phone. It was Dad who Oswald was supposed to contact in the event of emergency, but obviously that was not going to work now. A miserable hour passed until Oswald's phone vibrated. Afraid the rabbit might still be listening outside his locked door, he picked up without saying hello. "Oswald, what's going on?" His mom sounded terrified. "Do I need to call 911? "I can't talk now," Oswald whispered. "I'm on my way home, okay?" She hung up. 15 minutes seemed to pass more slowly than Oswald thought was possible. Then there was a knock on Oswald's door. Oswald jumped, his heart in his throat. "Who is it?" "It's me," Mom said, sounding exasperated. "Open the door." He opened the door just a crack to make sure it was really her. Once he let her in, he closed and locked the door behind them. "Oswald, you need to tell me what's going on." Mom's brow was furrowed with worry. Where to start, how to explain without sounding crazy. "It's Dad, he's not okay. I'm not even sure where he is." Mom put her hands on both his shoulders. "Oswald, I just saw your dad. He's lying on the bed in our bedroom watching TV. He made you chicken pot pie for dinner. It's sitting on the stove." "What? I'm not hungry." He tried to wrap his mind around his mom's words. "You saw Dad?" Mom nodded. She was looking at him like he was one of their parents instead of her kid. One of her patients instead of her kid. Like she was trying to figure out what was wrong with him. "And he's okay?" She nodded again. "He's okay, but I'm worried about you." She put her hand on his forehead as if checking for a fever. "I'm okay," Oswald said. "I mean, if Dad's okay, I'm okay. He just didn't seem okay. Maybe it's good school starting back. I think you're spending too much time by yourself." What could he say? "Actually, I've been spending time with my new friends in 1985. "Maybe so. I probably should just go on to bed. I have to get an early start in the morning." "I think that's a great idea," Mom said. She put her hands on his cheeks and looked at him directly in the eyes. "And listen, you're going to text me at work. Make sure it's a real emergency. You scared me." "Thought it was a real emergency. I'm sorry." "It's all right, honey. Get some rest, okay?" "Okay." After Mom left, Oswald looked under the bed. Jinx was still there, crouched in a ball like she was trying to make herself as small and invisible as possible. Her eyes wide and looking terrified. "It's okay, Jinxie," Oswald said, reaching under the bed and wiggling his fingers at her. "Mom says it's safe. You can come out now." The cat wouldn't budge. Oswald lay awake in bed. If Mom and Dad was there and okay, then it must be true. Why would she lie? But Oswald knew what he had seen. He had seen the yellow thing, as he had started to think of it, drag his dad into the pit. He had seen the yellow thing climb out of the pit, had felt his grip on his arm, sat beside it in the car, and drove him home. Look at Frame being the big. Good for you. Or had he? If Mom said Dad was home and okay, he must be. Oswald trusted his mom, but if Dad was okay, it meant Oswald hadn't seen what he thought he saw. And that must mean that Oswald was losing his mind. After only a few hours of fitful sleep, Oswald woke to the aroma of frying ham and baking biscuits. His stomach rumbled, reminding him that he had missed dinner that night. Everything felt normal. Maybe he should just treat yesterday like a bad dream and try to move forward. A new school year, a new beginning. He stopped in the bathroom, then made his way to the kitchen. "Feeling better?" Mom asked. There she was, her hair in a ponytail, wearing her pink fuzzy bathrobe, fixing breakfast just like always. Something about this fact made Oswald feel tremendously relieved. "Yeah," he said. "I'm pretty hungry, actually." "Now that's a problem I can fix," Mom said. She set down a plate with 2 ham biscuits on it and poured him a glass of orange. Oswald ate the first ham biscuit in 3 big bites. The yellow thing walked in and sat across from him at the breakfast table. Mom? Oswald's heart beat like a jackhammer in his chest. The ham biscuit sat heavy in his churning stomach. What is it, hun? Her back was turned as she fiddled with the coffee maker. Where's Dad? She turned around, the coffee pot in her hand. Oswald? Your dad is sitting right across from you. If this is some kind of elaborate prank, you can cut it out right now because it has officially stopped being funny. She poured a cup of coffee, set it down in front of the yellow thing, which stared straight ahead, its mouth set in an unchanging grin. Oswald knew he wasn't getting anywhere. Either he was insane or his mom was. Okay, I understand. I cut it out, I apologize. May I be excused so I can get ready for school? Of course, Mom said. She was looking at him kind of funny again. Oswald stopped in the bathroom to brush his teeth, and then he went to his room to get his backpack. He peeked under his bed to find Jinx still hiding there. Well, it's good to know there's somebody else in this family who has some sense, he said. When Oswald came back into the kitchen, the yellow thing was standing by the door, car keys in its paw. Is, Dad taking me to school? Oswald asked. He didn't know if he could hear sitting beside it in the car again, but hoping it was watching the road as it stared through the windshield with its empty eyes. I'm so sorry, chat. I'm losing it. I've been oh shit, I've been reading more than an hour and a half, almost 2 hours. I'm gonna drink a bit of water. I want to get to a good stopping point before we stop and finish it tomorrow. I really love the campfire sounds. The fireplace sounds so nice. It really calms me down. A lot better than listening to nothing, at the very least. Doesn't he always? Mom said. You could hear the worry in her voice. Have a good day, okay? Seeing no choice, Oswald got in the car beside the yellow thing. Once again, it locked all the doors from the driver's side. It backed out of the driveway, past a jogging neighbor who waved at it just as if it were his dad. Oh, boy. Okay, I'm terribly sorry, chat. 1 minute. I have to take a call. A family member is calling me, so I will be right back. Gonna have a BRB, and when we get back, I will be with you guys. Just stay there. I just have to quickly do something. Terribly sorry. Chat, don't be fighting just because I'm taking a call doesn't mean you guys can be mean to each other. Oh no. Chat, I've been trying to talk for the past few minutes, and I didn't realize that my mic was muted. So let me just go back to what I was talking. I'm just gonna kind of, fuck. That's about all I had to say. Just fuck. Nice to see Ed. Nice to see you, man. Glad that you're active in the chat. That's great to see. We have more viewers. Woo! I was trying to say 2020. Glad that it's over, but yes, just because it's a new number doesn't mean the year's just gonna instantly get better. That's just not how it works, and it's weird that some people, for some reason, get it. One more. Look, I take any amount of growth I get as an amazing thing, so let me have this. Frame. Come on, man. Come on. Okay, we're gonna get back to reading the funny FNAF. We're gonna get back to it. Ooh, okay. See, I could stream for another hour and finish this book, but I've already been streaming for 2 hours, and there's other people in this house, in the house that I live in, that I have to consider. So, plus I have some friends I want to hang out with. So. Sorry, chat. As soon as we get to a good stopping point, we are gonna end the stream. So I'm terribly sorry for the extra like one or two viewers that have joined. So I guess specifically Ed. Really appreciate it, Ed. Yeah, I'm happy that the streams get some traction. We're gonna definitely be doing a lot more of these streams. I'm planning on doing them, if I can, every day at 5 p.m. CST. So for those who want to join earlier, so that you can be on the stream longer and chat longer, there's always the go with that. Stop whenever I want. Yeah, Dolly, but come on, I have to at least get to a good stopping point. So it at least makes sense to stop the stream. I'm not gonna end it because I already forgot where I fucking was. Okay, I found a place. Actually, okay, I'm gonna read a little further. It's a good stopping point, but because there's an extra person, we're gonna read a little more, get to a good stopping point, and then we're gonna end the stream. Because I feel bad for like people like Ed who kind of just joined during the BRB. So let's actually let's actually get back into the reading. You couldn't tell, the people that have joined the stream, we are reading number 1 of the Fazbear Frights books, Into the Pit. I know, Frame, I'm gonna get the Discord server soon. The thing is, I'm waiting for just... Fine. I'll do it. I'm just gonna need help. I need to learn a bit more about doing Discord stuff and learning what bots would be really cool for the server. That's true, Ed. You're always there. You're omnipotent as it is. Always, exactly. I know. Ed, you're almost as holy as the Freddy poster that is framed above my lovely fireplace as you see right now. Almost as lovely. You can't top perfection, Ed. Freddy will always be perfect. Sorry. We're here to read about Freddy, not get in a rant about him. Let's get back into reading. When it pulled up in front of Westbrook Middle School, the crossing guard and the kids at the sidewalk didn't seem to notice that the car was being driven by a giant yellow rabbit. Hey, Oswald said before they got out of the car. Don't bother picking me up this afternoon. I'll just catch the bus. The school bus was a big yellow thing he could handle. Because it was some kind of cosmic law, the first person Oswald saw in the hall was Dylan, his tormentor. Well, if it isn't Oswald the yacht, give it a rest, Dylan, Oswald said, pushing past him. I've got way bigger problems than you today. It was impossible to concentrate in class. Usually, Oswald was a pretty decent student, but how could he focus with his life and possibly his sanity? With his life and possibly his sanity falling apart. Maybe he could talk to someone, the school counselor or the school police officer, but he knew anything that came out of his mouth would sound dangerously crazy. How could he convince a police officer that his dad was missing if everybody who looked at the yellow thing saw Oswald's dad? There was no one to help him. Oswald was going to have to figure out how to solve this problem himself. At recess, he sat on a bench by the playground, grateful that he didn't have to pretend to listen to a teacher and could just think. He couldn't imagine how his life could get any weirder. The yellow thing seemed to think that it was his father. This was weird enough, but why did everybody else think it was his father too? Do you mind if I share your bench? It was a girl Oswald had never seen before. She had curly black hair and big brown eyes and was holding a thick book. Sure, help yourself, Oswald said. The girl sat on the opposite end of the bench and opened her book. Oswald went back to his confusing thoughts. Have you gone to this school for a long time? The girl asked him for a few minutes. She didn't look over at Oswald when she talked, she just kept staring at the pages of her book. Oswald wondered if this meant she was shy. Since kindergarten, Oswald said, and then, because he couldn't think of a single other thing to say about himself, he asked, What are you reading? Greek mythology, she said. Tales of heroes. Have you read much mythology? No, not really, he said, feeling stupid immediately after. He didn't want to give the impression that he was the kind of guy who never read books. In desperation, he added, I'd love to read, though. And then he felt even stupider. Me too, she said. I've probably read this book a dozen times. It's like a comfort book for me. I read it when I need to be brave. The word brave stuck a chord in Oswald. Brave was what he needed to be too. Well, why's that? Well, the Greek heroes are super brave. They're always doing battle with some kind of big monster like the Minotaur or the Hydra. It kind of puts things in perspective, you know? No matter how bad my problems are, at least I don't have to battle with a monster. Yeah, Oswald said, even though he was trying to figure out how to handle with a monster, a yellow, long-eared monster, in his own home. He couldn't tell this girl about the yellow thing, though. She should think he was crazy, and would be... She would think that he'd be crazy, and would be leaving in... Shit! She would think he was crazy and would be leaving their shared bench in a hurry. There we go. So, you said you read that book when you need to be brave. He was surprised he was having this conversation given the way his mind was racing. For some reason, this girl was easy to talk to. I mean, it may be none of my business, but I was wondering why you needed to be brave. She gave a shy little smile. First day at a new school. Third day in a new town. I don't know anybody yet. Yes, you do, he said. He held out his hand. I'm Oswald. Dude, Oswald's a sly little motherfucker. He's already trying to date the new girl. This is like a 2010s romantic movie on Netflix. I was copy pasted with the same minority. I'm not funny. I'm gonna go back to reading the Freddy. He didn't know why he was offering his hand like he was some kind of businessman, but it felt like the right thing to do. She took his hand and shook it surprisingly firmly. Gee. I'm Gabrielle. Somehow, this was the connection Oswald had needed to have. And it has a space between the paragraphs, so that is where I'm gonna leave off. So yeah, okay. Review. What we read so far. Oswald is a boy in a town where there was a mill. And the mill had a bunch of jobs. So like, if anyone knows Bloomington, Illinois, they're the State Farm headquarters. State Farm, yes, the insurance company, State Farm. They have a headquarters in Bloomington, Illinois. So imagine Bloomington, Illinois, and then the State Farm just moving its headquarters. Hundreds of families would have lost their jobs, and the reason they would be even at that city in the first place. So like in this town, and like the same thing that would happen, like with the State Farm, so like if Bloomington, Illinois lost the State Farm headquarters, the mill was gone, and everyone moved away. So Oswald, he lost his friend because the mill was gone. He lost a bunch of businesses that he liked, so like an ice cream place and like a movie theater, I think. And his dad lost his job, and he essentially lost a lot of the fun parts about living in that town. But his parents wanted to stay there because they didn't want to move. They didn't want to move anywhere, and so they... Sorry. So they stayed there, and unfortunately that means they lost a good paying job. So the dad works at this deli place, and they don't have a steady source of income anymore, or at least as big of a steady source of income. And so it's a boring life. It's a poor, boring life for little old Oswald. Little old Ozzy. I'm going to call him Oz for the sake of just simplicity. And so Oz, it's finally summer, and he has nothing to do. And so every day he goes to the library and goes to this place called Jeff's Pizza, which is a pizza place, a decrepit pizza place that used to be something bigger. At least that's what Oswald thinks. And so days and days go by, and eventually Oswald gets tired of his days being the same and being just... Yeah, I know. Just automatically. It's just, he sees female and he just goes... So he goes to the library, then Jeff's Pizza every day during the summer. He gets sick and tired of it, gets angry at his dad for not moving out of the city, or at the very least, giving him more money or letting him have more fun, which he's being a little... He isn't understanding the circumstances, or at the very least, he's sick and tired of the circumstances that he was given. Jesus. And so he lashed out at his dad. The dad lashed back.
and now they're not in the best of relationships. Oswald decides one day, the day after he lashes out at Jeff's Pizza, there's an old ball pit there, and it's old and dusty, and no one uses it because it's an old ball pit. He jumps into the ball pit to try and hide in there to kind of scare his dad as a little prank. And then for some reason, it just magically teleports him across time to like years in the past, where Jeff's Pizza is now Freddy Fazbear's Pizza in 1985. I'm assuming this place is set in like the mid-2000s. It doesn't really say when, but yeah, now we're in 1985 Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, and for those who are trying to connect this to the FNAF lore, it's supposed to hint at the lore, but at the same time be in its own separate universe. So, he's now just traveled back in time, and he meets some friends who aren't important, but he has a great time with these people and he just keeps he keeps traveling with the ball pit every day he goes to Jeff's Pizza. And then one day, he he's just having a great time, but then one day, everyone's running away. Everyone's running out of the pizzeria, and he doesn't know why. He sees this giant yellow rabbit, and it follows him, or it leads him to this party room, and he's just following because in his head, even though he thinks he isn't going to get hurt because he hasn't been born yet, which is stupid because he proved to himself that it's not a dream because he could physically touch everything in the pizzeria. So once he gets led into the party room, he sees a bunch of dead kids. And he just realizes, oh, this rabbit just led me into this room full of dead kids that either some like a closed-eyed dead, peaceful dead, or like wide open, full of mortal fear dead. This rabbit just led me into this room so that I could look at it and then he would kill me and make me one of them. So he books it out and the rabbit's chasing after him. And so he runs to the ball pit. Luckily he's fine. The rabbit touches him or something. He emerges from the ball pit. He's back in his normal time. His dad is worried sick because apparently this one instance, time moved at the same time as time moved when he was in there. Normally, when he was in there, as soon as he got in, and then as soon as he got out, time would resume as normal. It's so weird. So, he comes out, and his dad is, What the fuck are you doing? You shouldn't be in there. It's a dusty place. You're gonna get pink eye. And then as soon as something happens, rabbit touches him exactly. This rabbit is known to touch a lot of kids. More than enough times than he should, which is 0. Especially with a knife. You should never touch a kid with a knife. That just gets you fired immediately from any sort of job, I feel. But, yeah, it's like the dad, out of nowhere, the rabbit dude, the yellow rabbit, comes out of the ball pit, drags the dad down, and then the rabbit emerges. The dad doesn't. The rabbit emerges, though, and then just takes the kid, and no one thinks, because it's a weird sci-fi thing where the rabbit has now changed his appearance to everyone else except Oswald and his cat, so that everyone else just sees his dad where the rabbit is. And that is, don't want the kid with the knife to stab you. That's true. You don't, like, kids shouldn't touch adults with knives. Adults shouldn't touch kids with knives, all the iterations. So that's where we left off, where now the kid is now Oswald is mortally afraid of the rabbit that he only knows is the killer man of the rabbit. Everyone else just sees his dad. 7 viewers. I know. It's epic. And so he now goes to school knowing that the rabbit is there, and he meets a new friend. We just left off. We're going to end it off where he meets probably the next main character, Gabrielle, who's a new girl, reads Greek mythology, and she's probably going to be the supporting character that helps Oswald save the day in some shape or form. And, maybe because of some random fucking plot convenience, she's going to also see the yellow rabbit, and she's going to be like, why? So we won't know. Hi, Matthias. Hi again. Yeah, that's where we're going to leave off. So tomorrow, again at 5 p.m. CST, if I can. If I can't, sometime around there, probably later, probably earlier. We're gonna spend another fucking 2 hours reading FNAF. So hopefully you guys are excited as much as I am. That'll be a lot of fun. So I guess before we go, does anyone have any questions or have any talking points they'd like me to talk about? Because I can talk for a bit more. Does anyone want to say anything? Besides hello? Honestly, right now, I think this book is really good. I'm enjoying my time with it a lot. Especially now, I have an excuse to read it because of you guys, so thank you guys. Thank you 7 people in specific. Oh my god. My throat is so sore. So fucking sore. How can I help with the future Discord server? You could recommend me some bots, that'd be nice. Although I could probably... Honestly, I probably won't need that. Would Springtrap make a good fleshlight? Yes. Specifically if you'd like CBT. Specifically if you like CBT, then yes, Springtrap would make the best fleshlight. But going back with the Discord server... I'm either gonna look into it later tonight, or like as soon as the stream stops, I'm probably gonna look into it, or I'm gonna do something. We're gonna see if we can get a Discord server started. You horny bastard, Ed. Look, Ed's funny though. He hasn't done anything bad yet. He can be horny as much as he wants. Until it goes too far. Yeah, Discord server should be up. Have I ever emulated a game? I emulated a bunch of Game Boy games on my phone. I'm thinking of... Thing is, okay. Nintendo fucking sucks in terms of, like... They will make you, if you mention if you make a video specifically about hacking Nintendo stuff, then they won't put you in their video ambassador program, which essentially, they'll put you out of this ambassador program, which is like they'll give you free games, they'll let you test product and stuff, which I think is kind of stupid, but I'm not gonna get into that yet. But Jesus, I'm sorry, I get a little angry in terms of that, but I'm just gonna fucking talk about it because I don't care. I can buy my own damn games. I've emulated the Game Boy games, and I'm thinking about hacking my 3DS now that it's dead, so that I can play the Persona Q games, because I have a copy of Persona 5R that I got over Christmas as well. I'm not going to be streaming that. That's probably going to definitely be like a personal thing, because that's going to be a fucking long game. Guilty as charged. Yeah, you horny bastard. You horny fucking bastard. We're just gonna, I mean, I'll talk about, maybe when we do the Q&A stuff, or like maybe I'll do like a fucking like podcast thing where it's like people ask me questions and then I talk, but yeah, we're gonna see about Persona 5R. I'll talk about it when I actually get to play. I'm not gonna start that game until I finish Dragon Quest XI, which is really good. Like, you want an RPG to sink your teeth into? My highest recommendation right now is Dragon Quest XI, especially on the. You can get it on any. You can get like the definitive edition on any console now, so you have no reason to not play it. You know, of course, RPGs not being your thing is a valid excuse, though. I'll admit that. Yeah. Oh, okay. Thank you guys so much for joining the stream. I really appreciate you guys. Love you all. Especially you, Ed. Horny bastard. But, yep. Ocarina of Time. Hopefully when they release the Zelda 3D All-Stars where they do Ocarina... My guess, Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess. When they do that, I think Ocarina of Time is... It's so easily going to be a... But whenever that happens, I think it's going to be great. It's probably going to be just as... Put as much effort as they did with 3D All-Stars. Maybe not. We don't know. If I see someone named Not a Chuckster, that will be me. I'm assuming you're talking about the Discord server, but yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'll take note. I'll just like put like a note on your name whenever I see you on Discord. But yeah, no, happy to see you guys there when I finally make the Discord. I'll probably get that done by the end of the week. See what I can do. Yeah, we're gonna end the stream, guys. Thank you guys so much. This has been a fucking amazing stream. Can't wait to see you guys hopefully tomorrow. We'll read more FNAF. We'll talk some more. Great time. At least I hope so. And yeah, no, this time I'll actually keep the VOD since this is going to be an actual series that I'm doing, and since it's actual content all the time. Yeah. I'll see you guys later. You guys have a good one.